Don't we all just love a bit of drama? Great, isn't it?
That's
That
the
was
music
so
that
dramatic.
plays when I try to go to the toilet at night, so I don't wake the baby. That's what's playing in my head.
Now, there's two songs apparently that stick in your mind. There's probably that one, and there's my one on a Monday, because I know Andy loves singing that. Ben loves singing it. I'm sure Tom loves singing it while he's sliding down a greasy pole at work. But thanks for joining us, guys. It's Thursday. It's the Killer Comic Show again. We're on episode 14, season 2, so we're doing pretty well. Thanks for joining me. We've got, as always, we've got Ben, the attention-seeking geek. We've got Andy from Perpetual Comics. We've got James, has had the night off from Comic Deal. He's in the house. We've got Sean from Noob Comics, and we've got someone brand new. Now this is perfect because it's all about the King in Black, how the King in Black has changed the Marvel universe going forward, how we love it. But we have Darren, the Poptimist UK, joining us for a first time appearance on Geeky Guy Comics. I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, good evening, gents.
Welcome. We'll be as gentle as we possibly can.
I can't promise that.
No, you can't. And if Andy's had a beer, then you better watch out. But we are here, so obviously, right, we're doing this. It's the King in Black, issue number 1 to 5. It was okay. We're going to do a quick rundown of it, and we'll probably jump in to see how much it tied into Venom and various other tie-ins and stuff like that. But I think going back to when it first started, Andy, it kind of started something like this, I think it was.
I can feel him screaming through the black towards me, towards us, towards the whole of creation. His hands wrapping around the world's throat. This is it. No more running, no more hiding. No, the Lord of the Abyss, God of the Symbiotes. He's here. So, it's time to go to work. Your God is awake, and God is coming.
Now, let's be honest, with an intro and a trailer like that, you'd think it would be epic. It'd probably be up there, I don't know, with Avengers Endgame or Infinity Wars and stuff like that. It started sensational. Me and Andy were so well behind it. We was actually shouting from the rooftops. How
Is that yours and Andy's voices in the video?
Yeah,
Yes.
we did a voiceover. We've got James to produce it. But
The
I
voice
mean,
acting is so bad in that clip. Like,
It was awful. That is the worst Eddie Brock
no,
ever.
it's got
That
to be.
voice was so bad.
it
But
was
I
like
think-
someone doing a bad impression of Keanu Reeves or something. It was very odd.
But I think before we get into this, if we just do a quick shout out from the chat, we've got Captain Comics, who is here at 5 o'clock. He's obviously docked his ship very quickly. We've got Tyler from TB Collects. Thank you very much, mate. We've got James, Comic Deal. We've got Andy, Perpetual Comics. We have Sean. We've
You
got
guys just want to get a shout out, even though you're on the show, right? Is that not enough of a shout out?
we've got
Yeah.
we've got the trusty Firehawk 2069. There is only one of them. And yeah, I think that, and we also we've got Only Pops and Sodas. That's just dropping in. Darren
That's
rocking the
Darren
hair.
bringing in the
Leaving
pop.
Liam.
That's it. That is it. That's Darren. That's Darren balancing the hair ratio. Who else have we got? We've got Stephen Boyd. Be right back to Forbidden Planet. Need to read this. I assume he hasn't read it yet. And we've got Storm More Collectibles. So I think before we start off, like we was all positive apart from James, who kind of called this from the off that this was going to be a pile of shit. But I'd like to go over to Darren because I think off the back of me and Andy being so publicly setting the emotion behind this and really looking forward to it, it kind of set Darren in a wheel of motion to kind of pick up comics again. Is that right, Darren?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, I used to be a comic book reader sort of between the age of around 12 and 15. So around mainly Marvel, X-Men in particular, sort of the X universe, Phalanx Covenant. So we're going back to sort of maybe 95, 96, something along those lines. It's the very start of the Age of Apocalypse, the original go round. And the start of Generation X and X-Man. And I kind of fell away around sort of 16, 17 a little bit, and then sort of drifted away from it. But everything I've watched and a lot of things that I enjoy, most are derived from comic books anyway. So HBO's Watchmen, you know, all most of the series that I watch now, and obviously with The Boys and Umbrella Academy and things like that. So I've always had a fleeting interest in comic book stuff, but not really picked up any comics. And then obviously Andy and yourself, Charlie, did the recap of the first edition of King in Black. I mean, the artwork, as much as anything else, you know, particularly the cover art, is something that I've been really interested in, and I will pick up the editions and read them eventually. But I know, obviously, James, having watched the big reviews you've done of it, you've been quite sort of scornful. So obviously, I think it's quite an interesting thing. I mean, as a Funko Pop collector, it's something that I think I can see the sort of scope that it will have for that down the line as well.
Can I just say, James is scornful about everything. He'd be scornful about Mary Poppins if he had a chance.
Communist rubbish.
No, but I mean, Andy, I think, right, and that's a good thing. Like, obviously, us as comic book readers, and obviously Darren as a Funko Pop collector and everything, it's two different sides of the same coin, as it were. We're addicted to collecting. We've all got our passions and stuff like that. And obviously, I collect Funko Pops as well. And to see Darren, to hear you pick up a comic based off of what we're doing, get back into comics and stuff like that, it's kind of what we do it for. I'm just really sorry that the comic didn't live up to the expectations and the hype that we kind of put behind it, because I think based on the first issue, how much emphasis from Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman went into this is years in the making. And I think, to be fair, James and Andy both called it, the first issue was so epic, it kind of just plateaued out and just stayed at that level. And then towards, I think it was issue 4 and 5, just went on a straight downhill plummet back to Black to Hell. That's where it kind of went, and I'm gutted.
Well, if you remember, Charlie, that was my first Killer Comic show. And do you remember how enthusiastic, how much energy they actually had for life, if anything? Those were good memories. But this 5-issue run kind of reminds me a lot of me. It's like I promise so much, but I largely underdeliver.
It's
You know, it's funny, because it actually reminds me a lot of me as well, Andy, in that respect. Whereas, I start off really bad and don't improve. So, I don't set any unexpected expectations. I just start off bad and finish that way.
But I mean, why do you think that this comic kind of just didn't hit the buttons? I mean, there was epic parts in it. I mean, we had the X-Men coming in, we had Charles Xavier calling out to like Wolverine, Storm, we had epic parts by Storm, which is trying to hold off like the venomized symbiote dragons and stuff, and it just fell flat. Too much happened too soon in the first issue.
I think it was the comics. The comic was just too short. It wasn't spread out enough. I think if they had spread that out over maybe a longer period of time, developed the story a bit more, with all the characters in mind for each particular comic itself issue, that might have been a lot better than what we had. Those 5 issues were just too much.
I think the biggest issue is the same issue that Marvel has faced with so many of its events. It's real long-term consequence. These events are hyped up to kind of be these big, full world events, and we often come out of them without anything, kind of no repercussions, and if there is a repercussion, quite often it won't last. So if someone does die, for example, it'll be for like a year or 2 years or something like that. But in this, they only died for an issue. Spoiler warning. But like, so they couldn't even commit. But they couldn't even commit to kind of doing that. And even in terms of like, I think you have real opportunity to create kind of striking imagery and something really new. And I think they did that with Null as a character. Null kind of, we were excited. We fans got behind the design. I think he kind of looked creepy, or the variants did well because of that and stuff. But coming out of it, I don't feel like we got any cool, like the biggest opportunity was in that final issue where you have you thrown up your spoiler warning?
All right, let me just get that.
Get that up, nice and big, over James's face if you can. Oh, it's over.
It's on yours. It's on your face.
There we go. I'll put up to it. There we go.
I think the biggest opportunity to do that would have been that final issue where we had a Captain Universe kind of souped up, the God of Light version of Venom, and it really was just Venom with a bit of a glow to his chest, and his eyes looking especially kind of glittery. It really disappointed me that I felt like we could have kind of had a real moment with Eddie Brock, having just having one of those costumes where you go, yes, that was the costume from King in Black in that moment, to make it memorable. And we just got no moments, I don't think. Like, the only thing that I might remember is joking about how Eddie Brock fell for 5 pages.
For 35 minutes. But
I think, to summarize, I think the biggest problem with this and with Marvel in general, DC to an extent as well, is just long-term consequences and repercussions.
It just felt rushed. Dylan Brock just was the most underutilized character that they could have developed so much more. And it was just, that last episode was just at the end. Obviously, you've got to spoiler one away, but
I'll put it up again. It's fine.
I just, at the end of it, I just felt so underwhelmed. It was just like, you think there's going to be, the next big bad's going to be the development with Dylan Brock, and then it doesn't. It just takes it away.
Yeah.
And to do that inside the space of 5 issues only, it was just so rushed. It's so rushed.
I said it in the chat for your first, on your King of Black issue 1. Yeah. I was in the chat giving it large about how much I didn't like it. And I was keyboard worrying all over the place. Everyone was running and hiding with their mouse and keyboards. But I said that issue 1, it fit the template of a big tie, sort of crossover tie-in. It would buy the book, that did everything. That the only thing that was a slightly surprise was the whole Sentry coming down. Everyone thought, oh, Sentry's going to be a big reveal, and then they rip him apart, and then not mentioned again for the next 4 issues. So that was just like a by thing. But I said that for this to be good, it needed to have that long-term consequences, like Bennett said, and I just had a feeling that none of it was going to stick. And the fact that the build-up, the hype for this was so big, the build-up was like, it must have been over a year, and building it up through the Spider-Man issues in the Venom book, bringing this Null character, basically rewriting the whole history of the symbiote for Venom, for this, based on this character, just to then, get that spoiler warning up, but to have him killed off at the end of the 5th issue, and it's like, well, that's it. There's that character they've been building up, this big bad, and all they've done is just given Venom the Captain Universe power, and that's
done now anyway. So it's not even like he held that. Like, I was kind of expecting him to maybe take on this new mantle and fly off into space and have some new adventures knocking about up there, and then maybe Dylan to kind of take the mantle. I don't know. We've still got this anniversary issue of Venom coming, which I think they've said that they are going to wrap up a little bit more.
Yeah.
The events for King in Black. So who knows? We might get some kind of surprises. It's funny you say about Sentry, that being like one of the defining moments. It's also still Sentry. Like, I don't know whether I've met a Sentry fan ever. If anyone's a Sentry fan in the chat, pipe up. Now's your opportunity, and you'll probably never be asked ever again in your life if you like Sentry. But if you do,
Based
let us know.
in Black issue 1, I did actually go and reread the first Sentry miniseries where they brought him in as a character, and it was actually quite interesting. Sentry was quite an interesting character, and then they started using him a lot more in the likes of the new Avengers and things like that when they broke him out of the prison. But yeah, I mean, no one's going to say, "Oh, the Sentry that's really made this comic," and then just kill them off. You know, no one's going to be, you know, having a funeral and the parade in the streets or anything. Do you know what I mean? For the Sentry. So
it's really weird that we're talking about like Venom and King of Black, because Rio Anadito, who is a Marvel's DC IDW writer and artist and stuff, he's just popped up in the chat. I haven't spoken to him for a while, and he actually drew Venom's Space Knights, Space Knight 10, I think he do. So it's great to have him in the chat and stuff. But I mean, Ben, on the flip side of it, obviously the artwork, the covers and everything you've picked up have been amazing. Being like a Marvel, like you're Marvel through and through, do you think there's anywhere else that they can go with this that's not going to jeopardize? I mean, obviously Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, they're stepping away from this. They're stepping away from Venom as well. Do you think that they've done anything in the King of Black that's going to jeopardize the follow-on from the Venom?
I mean, not necessarily jeopardize, but like I honestly was coming into issue 5 thinking that we were going to get a whole new character design for Eddie Brock. Because Captain Universe, whenever he's, someone taken on the powers or whatever, they've had this very kind of cosmic-y look, and I was honestly expecting that. So now that's not happened. It kind of rules out my theory about Dylan getting, the symbiote as well. The only thing I can think is that we get a Dylan. What's the cat called again?
Pussy Galore.
I know it's not that. But anyway, the symbiote cat that he's got, that's like his protector and stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing I can kind of think of is if I'd love to see a series of like just Dylan and the cat, and they kind of merge when they need to and like go off on adventures and tomfoolery. Other than that, I mean, the thing is, the one thing that has come out of this is that Eddie Brock is now a hero. He's a hero in the eyes of, the Avengers and Spider-Man and, all of his colleagues now. I think they know he's a hero. Us fans know he's a hero now. So I guess with the new series, it's a clear path. And, Donny Cates' run, I think, has really kind of explored, taking him from that anti-hero kind of status to hero status. So
does that make Eddie Brock a more interesting character? Does that make Venom a more interesting character now, just being a hero? No, it dampens the sort of aura and awesomeness that Venom had originally before all this tripe.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And part of me is slightly concerned that the biggest influence on that decision was the film and Tom Hardy, Tom Hardy's performance specifically, because I hate Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock. I think it's an amazing Venom in that film. The Venom is perfect, but Tom Hardy is not Eddie Brock in that film. Like, if anything, he'd be a better like Flash Thompson or something. So, yeah.
Would you prefer
I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Would you prefer the Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3 or Venom?
Go for Grace. Go for Grace, a better Eddie Brock.
That's like saying, who do you prefer, Andy or Charlie? Do you know what I mean? Like, both.
See, like, I mean, even in the chat, is it wrong that it takes the shine off Venom for me? I think, like, reading that's kind of, I think overall the Venom story has been more consistent. It's been stronger than King in Black. But I think Marvel were known for dragging out their tie-ins, and they've done the same as this. Like, we had, what was it, War of the Realms that went on for, like, I think it was like 16 issues, and then we had like 6 tie-in issues that went on longer than the actual comic. King in Black finished, what was it, last week? There's still tie-ins happening now. You've still got like Planet of the Symbiotes. You've still got, I think there's Black Panther tying in. You've got Spider-Man. They're all still tying in, but it's kind of like the main comics ended. Now you're just doing damage to the rest of them.
Yeah, and Storm was correct as well. I have to say, I liked Venom, and I've said it before. I liked Venom before I started reading the Donny Cates run, and then this King of Black thing, and just sort of retconning the whole sort of symbiote history and stuff like that. I mean, I knew they were trying to do something interesting with it and sort of bring it, more light on it, as opposed to just being, why this alien symbiote is all of a sudden taking these spider powers and things like that, not explaining it. But I don't know. I think when you over-explain things, it just takes the shine off it.
I mean, Darren, like obviously you picked up the comics based on like the variant covers that are out and stuff. Do you think that on a comic pop transition type of thing, do you think there's more about this comic that's pushing, like going towards the fact that there's going to be a Funko Pop made out of this? I mean, we've had Venom Pops for years. We've had like variants of Venom and stuff. We've also got this that features in the end comic when we find out that he is the King in Black and stuff like that.
King in Black.
Yes,
That's the twist.
that is it. But I mean, obviously, like a Knoll Pop, I know we've spoken in depth about how great a Funko Pop that would be. I mean, a 10-inch Knoll Funko Pop would be absolutely insane. Do you think there's more push behind this because it's Venom and he's a big character, or do you think it's just going to be something that is just a flash in the pan and it won't ever get done?
I think Venom's an interesting one because with Pop in a Box, one of the main retailers, they do a lot of Venom-based exclusives anyway. They've gone through pretty much the whole gamut of symbiotes at the minute. So if anything comes from this Funko Pop-wise, it's going to be through Pop in a Box because they've got a real affinity with the Venom line anyway. But yeah, almost definitely. I think now they're diversifying so much into the comics. The different things. I mean, the mech line has just came out. I know that's a comic line that's sort of going at the minute. And also the sort of luchadors, Marvel luchadors they've gone into. So yeah, they'll definitely do a Null Pop at some stage. I'm almost certain of that.
I mean, I would definitely look to pick that up. I mean, because obviously we've had Venomized Pops in the past. We've had like zombie Pops. We've had Venomized Pops. The latest was it the Fantastic Four, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, and they made mistakes in that because obviously they had like the Human Torch as a Venomized, but obviously the symbiotes don't like fire, so they kind of messed up on that. And I know we've spoken in depth with that, but it's interesting.
It was in the Fantastic Four book. They did have a Venomized Johnny Storm in the book this week.
But I mean, Copy 801, who's like the encyclopedia of comics, it's like the debate between having a good Bruce Wayne Batman and Clark Kent Superman. An actor can be an amazing Superman, but a terrible Clark Kent. I think that is the case in the Venom film, but I also think it's the case in this as well. I think for me, the King in Black Knoll was more of a force to be reckoned with when you didn't know that he was coming, when you didn't know what he was doing about. Now that he's come, and he's kind of like, the way it ended was not what we expected, to be fair.
He cut a good promo, but didn't deliver.
That's exactly. I think Donny Cates is sort of renowned for not being able to finish off comic books. I think I know we're going to talk about Thor as well. I much preferred what happened with your man Blake on that, and without giving spoilers away. But I think it's less to do with Venom and what's going to happen next. We have to remember that he's created probably the most powerful weapon in the Marvel universe, with that sword that he's wielding at the minute. So I think they'll bring that some way into the next Thor movie, and I think that's how they'll tie it all in. And then no characters are ever fully dead, as we all know. So it could be something that he's regenerated null at some point, but I don't think it's the last that we've heard him.
But I think Hydra's put here, it's difficult because the next writer for this run has big shoes to fill, but equally I hope they continue some of the plot points. My biggest disappointment was Dylan. We spoke about that, and I think so I mean, do we know who's coming in to take over from Venom? Is it, we don't know yet, do we?
Go on, Andy. I can see him tapping away.
I think they did announce it, didn't they?
I don't work for Marvel.
I seem to remember they did announce it.
But it's going to be interesting because I think obviously like Cates is renowned for like doing what he's doing, putting on like a big promo and stuff like that. And again, it just hasn't lived up to it. But I think like I don't think we can like doubt that it was an impressive comic. Like some of the scenes, I'm just going to show some of the stuff now. Some of the scenes like that we're showing here, like obviously this is like the standard comic cover, and then, but I mean, even here, like Noel is kind of like everything's going on, and Noel's like overlooking like the Avengers. You got Venom center stage and everything, and this kind of just sold it to me to begin with. Like I think to begin with, there was like 24 variant covers out for issue number 1.
Oh, it was pure fan service. That's kind of that's what Donna Cates does best, is fan service. You just need to look at crossover with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say, and I know James might disagree with us, but the Venom run from start to where it is at the minute, and it's due to finish up quite soon, is you're going to be talking about that for years and years to come. There's no doubt about it, but it's just so disappointing how he's brought the end to null in the way that he did.
See, a lot of the thing with the Venom, I know a lot of it was slowly building up this King in Black tie-in. And then when you factor in how, I mean, again, like, you know, everyone sort of knows I've been disappointed with it from this issue 1 right through until issue 5, so I'm not surprised that other people don't believe issue 5 was great. But the fact that the Venom series itself spent so much time dwelling on Null and bringing it in, to me, it feels like they just wasted it. They wasted those issues, because it's literally just to go into this tie-in, which was for me, you know, poor.
And I mean, I've got some. I don't know what way we're going to do this. I don't know how it's going to go. But we have. I mean, obviously, it's gone in reverse, right? So let's just start here. So obviously, this is from issue 5. So if you are watching now, you might just want to turn off. But I mean, even this, like when he was resurrected and came back and was like, he's got the Avengers, everyone's come full circle and they've all recovered and stuff. Even this for me was like, yeah, this is going to happen. This is actually going to be good. This was what I was expecting. But then even then, like to follow on from this,
there's nothing original about that. Like
this
image,
is it.
like like he literally has a glowing chest and eyes. Like that's it. Like there's nothing. If you showed me that without me knowing the story, I wouldn't have gone, oh yeah, he's powered by Captain Universe. That's so cool. Like
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't think there was, obviously it was revealed that he was Captain Universe by Reed Richards, kind of like receiving it all, and he's kind of like going over it. But then, as you said, this wouldn't look out of place in a Venom comic. Now, I think that what they've done, they haven't distinguished the two enough.
At the very least,
potentially did something like really interesting. Like we're going to come to it later with Thor, but what he does amazing with the Thor, the Prey run in Thor, is he's reinvented Donald Blake. Like he's given Donald Blake like this amazing kind of makeover, and it makes sense, and it felt kind of natural. And I think he tried to kind of do that with Captain Universe with this, and it's for me, it's just fallen flat. Like he's tried to kind of rewrite some of the old storylines. Like I think it's Captain Universe's first, one of his first appearances, and he's in a hospital. The guy's in a hospital and he's getting attacked by like shadows. So it was just shadows way back when, but I think Donny Cates has tried to kind of rewrite history a little bit now, so that those shadows were actually symbiotes, and it was all part of the god of light and the god of darkness. And for me, it's just lacked impact. I just think it was a bad decision. Now I feel like there could have, there's a whole repertoire of super-powered, characters that Marvel could have kind of aligned with Venom and or souped Venom up with. And I just think not enough people care for that character.
I mean, we spoke about Thor. This, I think it was on here. This one, when Thor came in. Like I think so. Everyone that was reading number 1, everyone's thinking like you've got Tony Stark, and you've got Captain America, and they're all talking about, have you called the big guy? Have you called the big guy? Now there was 2 people missing from the first issue. It was Thor and there was Hulk. No one even thought that it was Sentry. Now that kind of again hyped up speculation of who it was going to be and stuff. And when they're talking about the big guy, like you just assume it's Hulk. Because no matter where Tony Stark and Captain America and everyone are, you expect Hulk to be there. But then when Thor came into play, I thought this is going to kind of swing it. Now it's going to get kind of good, but it just didn't.
It was so tame. I think at the very least,
Well, he did knock off his jaw. He did knock off his jaw.
But it's like I've had enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everything that's happened over all the issues of Venom and all the issues of King and Black, at the very least, you just want them to kick the shit out of each other for 31 pages, and then whatever happens in that last page. But we just didn't get it. It was just so disappointing.
Yeah.
I wanted like Dragon Ball Z level fights, like that lasted like an hour.
Yeah, see, that's something Darren would be into if it was My Hero Academia, something like that's what you'd need. That is what would grab your attention. If I saw like Thor going at it with Mjolnir smashing up Null for 31 pages, that's something I'd definitely be into. Like something like Invincible. That'd be pretty cool. But then, I mean, what else we got? We've got now this, right? This I really, really did enjoy. Like obviously they call Sentry, he comes, but again they've done this too early. This was in issue 1 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean they call Sentry in issue 1. He comes down, he goes through straight to Null, and everyone's like, yes, Captain's here, Captain like Sentry's here. It all goes up, tits up, he introduces himself to Null. I think Andy, me and you laughed about the fact that how he introduced himself, wasn't he saying like hi boy or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, hello. And then like Null just literally grabs him by the throat. Now Sentry's meant to be one of the most powerful superhumans out there. And again, he's literally been grabbed by his neck, taken up to the highest height. Probably, I think he's been taken up to the same height as the tower block that Null threw Eddie Brock off. And then it was this.
But this is kind of a foreshadowing, if you think about it, of how he actually gets killed himself. He gets driven up to a great height, and I don't know if we've got the spoiler thing on.
Yeah, hold on 1 sec. I need to just. There we go, brand. There we go. Yeah, there we go. We'll go
spoilers 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so he gets taken up and basically shoved into the sun, and that's it. It's done. I was when I was reading issue 2 and 3, I was thinking, how are they actually going to kill this guy? How are they going to overcome him? And little did I expect in issue 5 that the good old sun would just kill him.
But what I liked about this is obviously Sentry, this is his finishing move. So it's basically come back and bitten him in the arse. And this was probably my favourite part because this tied into one of Ben's favourite tie-ins from the King of Black series. And that was the, what were they called, Ben? It was the
Thunderbolts.
Yeah, the
best
Thunderbolts.
thing about King of Black was the Thunderbolts.
It was 100%.
5-part, 4-part?
It was it was 4 parts because obviously the Sentry, where we just see him thrown away, he ends up being washed up on a beach that the Thunderbolts now collect him. And Darren, the Thunderbolts are basically a grade B version of the Suicide Squad.
Okay, right.
And they take pop at that as well, and they kind of
grade C.
They know that. Grade C, okay, grade C.
They take pop at everything DC. Yeah. It's just hilarious.
And instead of Amanda Waller, they have Wilson Fisk at the helm.
Okay.
So yeah, it kind of all works like that. But I mean, we had this. This was an impressive part. But it was impressive at the fact that I only enjoyed this part because he was killed with his own finishing move, not the fact that Sentry had come and gone in 2 pages. And then we got this, and then I think this is where this ties into like Noel's army. I thought this was quite cool. Like obviously we've got the Avengers. We know that they're like the heroes that are looking after everyone, and to see them, especially the Thing and Captain America and Cyclops as Venomized, I quite like this. I don't know what everyone else was thinking about it.
No, yeah, I did enjoy it. It was fan service again. It's like it was just nice to see those characters and know what potentially they could do either individually or together as a team. Yeah.
See, look, everyone's the same. If it was the Dragon Ball level fight, it would have taken 5 issues for Noel to fight Sentry in issue 1. I think that's what we was missing. But then I think Marvel they've shot themselves in the foot because they're kind of like, they're used to doing these long tie-ins that take issues and issues. And I think with something this big, they should have at least invested a little bit more time to like draw it out. Like the Sentry entry, here we go. That could have come in issue 2. Do you know what I mean? We could have just dragged it out. This could have been like the first layer, and then it could have just layered up, but they came too quick.
I get a feeling as well that this is we've all been there, Charlie. But
Andy went off earlier because that happened.
The whole paradigm apparently must have been powerful. To me, it did seem like it was a lot. Like I know that Sean was saying, it seemed for 5 issues, a lot of stuff happened. It was very quick and everything. And to me, to be honest with you, just thinking about it now, it felt like that maybe this originally was planned just to be in the Venom run. You know, that maybe these were just meant to be in Venom's story. And then Marvel decided, you know what, we can capitalize on this. We can make some money. We can throw in about 700 tie-ins, including an issue where Eddie Brock falls for 31 pages, and get our money's worth. Because to be honest, that's thinking back on it, it's like, you know, there was no reason for this to be an event besides, you know, a cash grab.
But that's the thing that made me laugh. So he fell for like 2 pages, and then in Venom 33, he continued to fall, and then he landed. And then
in issue 5 of King and Black, when they threw Null off the building, spoiler, they threw Null off the building, and wondered, oh, they're going to have like a tie-in of a Null, and like Null issue 0, where he just falls for 30 pages.
Yeah. But I mean, this is how it ended, wasn't it? Like, there is, I'm just literally going to put up the brand. Let me put up the spoiler warning even there. But I mean, this is it. This is a carbon copy of basically what has happened to the Sentry. And I think
Morning Breath.
It is Morning Breath, isn't it? And that's it. And then there we go. Look. And that's how it all come to an end. And then it was
kids. That's why you should wear sunscreen.
Look at that.
Now, what about this, right? Everyone thought Dylan Brock was going to play a big part, and it could be that Eddie Brock's son kills Null, but it was actually the son that killed Null.
The son of...
It was everybody's son. Not
Everybody's
just Eddie's son.
But I think overall, like, Darren, we've probably ruined it for you. But I would say give it a read. Like, I would say, like, just give it a read, because... Like, I wouldn't like it was hyped up so much. Don't take us. I mean, like, it's me. I'm being overshadowed tonight by these 4 beautiful bald men. But I mean, there is, after me and Andy hyped it up so much, listening back to that, I think we kind of went a bit too hard too soon. And then we've also got obviously James, who bloody Oracle saw it before any of us, and I think he was right, because the way it ended, there could have been so much more to this, and it just.
There's no, you know, the big thing is there doesn't appear to be any lasting consequences, and for that, it just makes it a poor event.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry to say, but yeah, it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. I'm looking forward to like Venom. What is it? Venom 35 is the 200
legacy. Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna fly through the roof. I jumped on a hype train and that, and bought like 4 copies of it before it even went on.
Of the same issue.
I think, Darren, you've done that as well, haven't you?
I might have a couple. I might have a couple on the way. Yeah.
But I mean, I think this is it. Like, Noel was as weak as fuck, to be fair. Like, he was hyped up to be this massive guy that no one could ever beat, and then he's literally just beaten by the one thing that he tried to.
You know what it is as well. It's like yourself, Charlie. He was very premature in his actions. He he managed to cover the whole Earth with symbiotic goo. You know,
I've done that a few times.
The whole Earth in issue 1, and then, you know, it's there for 4 issues, and then all you need to do is fly him through the sun, and then it all just disappears and stuff. It's like there was no build up to. I mean, when I say there was no build up, there was a bloody long build up to bring a Null into it, which was ridiculous. But you know, they put him up as being really strong these first couple of issues with the people he's fighting. He was taking out Thor, you know, Silver Surfer, everybody like that. Yeah. And then all you have to do is fly him through the sun with Captain Universe powers, and
that was it. And I was like, that was it.
You know, see if they had it done in issue 1, I just ended it there. After he ripped Sentry apart.
Tied a rope from his ankle onto the surfer's surfboard and just flew that into the sun.
Yeah.
Second issue over.
Yeah. Or, you know, if the Human Torch is meant to be like the sun, isn't he? So why didn't he just engulf him?
Just stand slightly in front of him for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's come to an end now. Hopefully the rest of them come to an end, because I just, like, it's over now. Do you know what I mean? Like, get over it. There was only like 2 or 3 comics that actually worked with it, and I enjoyed the tie-ins a lot more than I did. I'm hateful to say, but yeah.
And you know what annoys me the most about it? What has annoyed me from day one with this Venom run in the King and Black is the fact now that Venom's basically the symbol on Venom's chest is no longer a spider. it's not a spider. It's whatever Null had when the symbiotes all come about. It's not a spider. And that annoys me. That's what annoyed me about the Venom movie, because it wasn't linked to Spider-Man, so technically that wasn't going to be a spider on his chest. And now it's not a spider on his chest, and it's just ruined it. It's just ruined it for me.
To be honest, the one thing I want to see come from this is a Thunderbolt spin-off comic.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I would love to see that.
With Rhino, because Rhino just does one in the first issue. He's just like, yeah, not for me. I'm out. I want him back. I want that team.
So spiders on chests.
I mean, do we think we've covered enough King in Black now? Do we think we've done it? I think we've drained it dry.
I think what you need to do, Charlie, is you need to do like a cut of the first issue that we reviewed, and then chat that with the enthusiasm that we had, and then just compare it to this.
Do you know what? I think I'm going to do that because honestly, I think me and you, we'd been talking about it for days, like how much it was going to be great and stuff like that. And even after that, I was like, this is going to be a decent, this is going to be bang on. No. So I'd love to see the comparison of how high we were. And it's literally like we've fallen from the same block that Eddie Brock fell from. Yeah. And we passed him on the way because I feel we hit the ground quicker than he did. I think he was still falling after 3 issues. We kind of got there after 2.5.
But at least we have the indie book to enjoy.
We do. And on that note, Darren, you are more than happy to stay around if you would like to see our thoughts and hear our thoughts.
Yeah, go on. Why not?
Why not? It's great having you here. You're bringing in people, so yeah, you can come on every week.
Yeah, you stay because your beard is leveling out the hair ratio for Charlie. So I think we need to stay.
It's there. It's getting there. Right. So what do we want to do first? Do we want to do the Joker? We've got Thor. Should we do Thor? Considering we've been talking about it.
Yeah. Go on then.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, indeed.
All right then. Twisted my arm.
There we go. Right, so we've got Thor 14. So obviously it was Prey. There were 6 issues of Prey. We have now come to an end. I thought this was wicked. I really liked it, the way that it all came together with Donald Blake and Thor and Odin coming back and Lady Sif. And we had characters galore in it. I know, Ben, one of your favourite characters. Didn't we review one of your comics that you liked with this guy in it last week? What was his name?
Thor Rog?
No, not Thor Rog, the other one. The horse face one.
Oh, Better Ray Bill, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
he was better in this than he was in his standalone comic.
Oh, leave him alone. What's your issue with horses, man? This was great. I really, really enjoyed this. And this, for me, it was like, we've obviously just pretty much slagged off Donny Cates for the last 5 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, wait, 20 minutes. But this is what Donny Cates can do. I think the way that he's revisited Donald Blake and kind of extracted like this whole new story out of him and reinvented the character and, you know, reinvented his very kind of motifs and you know, I think that the Donald Blake thing for newer Marvel fans, they wouldn't know who Donald Blake even is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I didn't.
Did you know who Donald Blake was before this?
No, not at all. Not at all. But whenever after the first couple of issues, I was really intrigued with the character and the sort of how he comes about and things like that. I thought it was a very, very good character. To be fair, a really, really good character.
Brilliant. I mean, and it was always a very random thing. It was like a kind of alter ego, but not really an alter ego. Like, and it never really made like huge amounts of sense anyway. I don't think from back in the day. So the way that he's kind of brought that and reinvented it and stuff was just brilliant. I love the character design. You know, this bit where he went full emo. If anything, they should have committed to this look longer because he kind of went back. He then had a shave and got smartened up for his date with Jane Foster. But I kind of loved this, like, you know, My Chemical Romance, like, look.
He was a doctor or something in the earlier issues?
Yeah, he's always been a doctor, so that was like the alter ego sort of thing. But yeah, I really loved the look. I loved how he brought in characters like Thor Rog and Better Ray Bill. And yeah, we got to see like a washed up Odin at the bar. And I thought it kind of played out in good time. I thought this final issue, the only thing with the final issue, again, it's like I kind of did want that Dragon Ball Z hour-long fight, and again, we didn't get it. And it's a shame because this story more than anything deserved that kind of hour-long battle. With spoiler warning, Thor in his destroyer suit, versus Donald Blake, that would have been awesome. But unfortunately, we only kind of got 3 panels of that. I love the ending, though. I love the setup now for Donald Blake to become something completely different now, within the kind of Marvel mythos. So that's really exciting to me. So, you got to give it to Donald Blake for, he does reinvent characters, that he goes to. And I think, I would love to see Donald Blake work on Spider-Man at the moment. I think Spider-Man's been shocking recently. And I know I'm not the only fan who thinks that. And I think it could really do with a Donny Cates kind of, reinventing something or plucking something from obscurity, within the Spider-Man comics and kind of making it relevant again. So yeah, no, I love this series.
I mean, I'm just going to try and flip through to one of the covers. Now, this one here, this is Jay Anacleto. Anceloto. This is available over on Not Quite Mint. Cheeky plug there, but I mean, this is it
Anceloto? I definitely said Ancleto in my video this week.
I thought it was Anacleto. It's Anacleto. Anacleto. But I mean, we've got.
It just depends how you say it. Ancleto.
This is coming from me who can't even understand English when I'm speaking it. So yeah, I've probably got that wrong. But I mean, we've got this, and then we've got obviously the Virgin. Now, I mean, this, for me, this kind of looks like Triple H and bloody Stephanie McMahon.
You know what? It actually does.
I quite like that, though.
I would be all for seeing Triple H dressed as Thor.
But I'd be well up for reading this. Buying this anyway. But I mean, yeah, I think I really liked it. I mean, guys, Andy, what did you think, mate?
No, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. So I read this directly after King in Black. So my expectations were pretty low at that particular point. But I thought it was great. Enjoyed the story. Again, exactly what Ben had said. I was hoping for a bigger sort of crescendo at the end. And what we got was interesting, I guess, but it certainly wasn't, the whole guns blazing or hammers blazing, as it were, that I was hoping for or expecting. But again, it's one of those things. It's teasing that little bit at the end just to say, like, we're not going to finish with this. There's something else that's going to happen. Just calm down, guys. And Donny Cates we trust. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next on it.
I think, from my sort of perspective, where I haven't read an awful lot of Marvel at all, I am more an indie reader, that I know very little about this sort of character. I didn't actually understand the ending with Loki. I'll not lie. I just didn't get it.
So Loki basically set him up to take a position that Loki used to hold, which is like the god of lies. Is that right? Yeah. And I presumed as well by that shot with the fangs that he's going to be blinded now as well. It looks like that was like a city. So I don't know, that looked cool. But yeah, no, basically he's been set up, Sean, as a god, but that god is imprisoned. So it's kind of like,
I didn't know about that. Didn't know about that mythos of Loki. So obviously I know he's got a mischief, but I didn't know it was god of lies as well. So it lost me a bit. So somebody new coming in to read that comic would not.
He's also god of horns, Sean.
Sean was once known as the horny god too.
Yeah, so got James in the trouble he's in now.
But I think obviously this is Donny Cates, so everyone's expecting that. We've got him doing King in Black, but he's doing some of his indie stuff as well. Is it the Old Guard? Is it Old Guard that he's doing? There's another comic that he's kind of working on, like some of his indie stuff has kind of gone under the. What is it? It's Andy. What's it called? What is it?
Well, Andy.
Come on, Andy. Like we was talking about this the other day. It's like a a Western type of thing. We were talking about it once. I know he was.
We spoke about a lot of things, to be fair, every single day. I will come back to me. Just whilst we are thinking about what that was, see if you think about the two endings of those books.
Yeah.
They're actually, I don't know if Donny Cates is doing this whole Greek mythology thing, because if you think about the King in Black, that was kind of a resembling Icarus being taken up to the sun and all that sort of stuff. And there's actually a god of lies as well in Greek mythology. So I just wondered if there's some sort of Greek mythology tie-in that Donny Cates is trying to do at the end of all his books.
I think he's just read Greek mythology for idiots and decided to put it into all his comics. So this Thor Run, I think I'd mentioned to Andy and Sean a while back as well that I'd sort of dipped in and out of it after the hype of the first sort of couple of issues, and I think I said I liked it, but I didn't find that what was happening, because it's, you know, this first, like the first story arc with the Black Winter and stuff was you know, epic sort of stuff, but then it ended with sort of little to no consequences. You know, they had bloody Galacticus falling from the sky, you know, dead. And then it just sort of moved on to the next, you know, there was like a wee further issue with that guy, the guy who worked in the auto body shop, got the hammer and stuff like that. And so it there seemed to be very little consequence to anything happened in that as well, which seems to be the case for these Donny Cates sort of books. So, you know, I hadn't really been sold on the Thor run, but, you know, like I said, the stuff with Donald Blake had been interesting enough. In this last issue, it was all right. It was, you know, it was easy to read, and it didn't tax me too much. So I'll just give that a thumbs up. But the art, like Nick Klein, and that specifically on this final book of the arc was fantastic.
I think that's the most positive. I think that's the most positive you've been about a comic book, I think.
You know, we haven't asked me about Usagi Yojimbo, then I would be, you know, gushing all over it. But I think that
Usagi Yojimbo was so bad.
Darren, Usagi Yojimbo is basically what's the name?
Samurai Rabbit.
Yeah, it's basically a samurai rabbit set in the animals of Farthing Wood, and he's a ninja ass. It's a pretty good comic. I've got to say.
Was he linked to the Turtles years back?
Yeah, he had a few crossovers with Turtles, and then he would in the cartoons as well. He appeared in the cartoons. But let's not turn this into a Usagi chat, guys. I know everybody would hate that. But yeah, that panel where Thor
James,
as destroyed.
Tell me more about Usagi Yojimbo.
Yeah,
well, Usagi Yojimbo is called Miyamoto Yojimbo, and that's his name. He's Usagi Yojimbo basically means what is it? Leaderless samurai, and he's he doesn't have a leader to follow anymore, so he goes around his own sort of way and picks up jobs as he goes along and just wanders around.
Are we doing this again? Like, I've done 6 streams with you now where you...
and he's an animal rights activist.
Don't get me started on animal rights activist books. Cargo issue 1, anybody?
But I enjoyed this. I think it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, with Donny Cates finishing King in Black and Venom and stuff. Do you think he's going to finish? He is finishing Thor. Is he finishing Thor with the end of this run of Prey? Because obviously, Prey issue number 14, and Prey was the 6th ending of the run. Does anyone know if he's got any to carry on with this, or is he kind of just cutting ties with that? Because it does say that he has said that him and Ryan Stegman are working on something new.
Yeah,
but I can't.
Yeah, I seen they put that up on Instagram or something like that. I think maybe in Twitter. And if you actually looked at the picture close enough, you could see that the book that was sitting next to him was a Watchmen book.
Doomsday.
So the suggestion that Doomsday was something to do with the Watchmen. It'd be so funny if it was Doomsday Clock.
Gee, Alexander.
He's not here. Alexander Babbage. He's not here.
There's going to be some new writers on X-Men coming up, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to see Donny Cates do next, based on
I'd love to see him do Spiderman. I really would.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you say. Yeah.
I'd like to see him doing crossover issue 7,
which he's not doing. Ironically,
he's not doing.
Chip Zdarsky's taken over, isn't it?
To be fair, I'm happy with that. So.
It's for one issue, I think. It's one issue,
and the fit that's that comic he done was called the God Country. That's the one. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I know it was like Western old guard
I
type
was
of
thinking
thing.
like
Redneck
redneck
as
It
well.
took
Does.
10 minutes to work that out, John.
It did. I literally just looked and I was trying to get a word in edgeways, but I couldn't. But next, let's do the Joker. I like this, and I tell you what, Captain Comics, right? So I've managed to buy this comic. I have bought this comic twice, right? I've bought this cover twice, right? Right, as I know, Darren, you know me, Andy, this is a running joke. Ben, like I did do it, and as I bought it, I was like, I swear I've bought this comic. Then went back onto my eBay account. I was like, yeah, I have bought it. I bought one for $3.95 and the other one for $5.99. So I've got a bargain somewhere.
I look forward to that AOK.
Yeah, mate, I swear. Right, and I also got the original cover because I quite like this. But then I bought this one after seeing what Captain Comics put up on his Instagram today. I bought this Neil Adams homage of 227. It was
Nice.
it come to £24. It was $13.99 and then it was £16 shipping stuff. It was like £27. But this is awesome. This was great.
You need to get a Stackery account, Charlie.
I've got a My US, and it was thanks to that guy right below me that I asked how to set it up.
Well done, it.
Nice.
No, you, mate. I think Darren's got like a My US, he's got a Stackery, he's got a Ship To account, he's got all of them. He's got his
Ship
in
To?
many.
Ship To. What is he shitting to?
But I really enjoyed this comic. I thought number one was great. I thought this one, like for me, the interactions between Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Gordon were just like, it was like a total power shift. The way that Gordon was demanding to, because obviously Batman's now lost his fortunes, he's kind of lost everything after the Joker War, and he's been taken down a peg or two. But this, for me, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think we spoke about like the first issue being, it should have been like Jim Gordon on the front of it, because it's basically a story going through his diary and how the Joker's affected him.
Well, they listened to you because they put him on the front of the second issue.
I know they did, but obviously this all ties back to the Killing Joke, doesn't it? Because obviously he was affected by that. His daughter Barbara was affected by that. But for me, I really enjoyed this. The artwork, the writing, I thought it was great.
Yeah, me too.
It's Tynion again, James Tynion, so obviously he's continuing. But he's doing stuff in this that I wish he was doing in Batman.
Yeah. No, I'm exactly with you, Charlie. I thought it was fantastic. I hadn't read issue 1 until today, and I thought it was fantastic. My only concern with it was that it was quite wordy. Lots of reading in it,
Very wordy.
lots of dialogue, which was a bit of a chore to get through of it. Just I wanted some more action. There seemed to be a lot of backstory, so I was hoping like issue 2 would change a little and it would be less dialogue, but that wasn't the case with it, unfortunately. But no, it's a great story. It's definitely one that I'm going to be picking up and looking forward to. And it's a nice perspective from your man Gordon as well, looking at it from through his eyes and seeing the sort of, the battle that he has with either killing the Joker and all those weird families and stuff like that, and all the people that are going against the Joker is pretty cool. Trying to find out about those is good, and the artwork is stunning on this as well.
Did anybody else think it was going to be Two-Face in it at one point when he's going to see the Joker? I thought it was Two-Face right the way up until, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. I couldn't picture who the bloody hell it was. Don't
paint everyone with the same brush. If they've got like half a burnt face, you can't just presume they're Two-Face, Sean. That's very offensive. But I was the same. I was the same as Andy. I read the first one today, as well as the second one. So I was reading right through. It was chunky, but I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And I think the sort of premise of where they all go if they want to relax was pretty interesting, to be fair, and how that works.
Now, I would say don't all go and buy this comic at once, because if you don't already, this does feature the first appearance of Bane's daughter, Vengeance. She is seen in, I think it's on the second to last page. She's seen putting on her dad's mask and stuff like that. Because obviously this again ties into the A-Day attack, which is basically the Joker's gas attack on Arkham Asylum, which was in. It was in the comic. Ben, we spoke about this. It was in that comic that tied into the last Batman edition that we didn't know we had to read before.
The whole DC Infinite Frontier
and stuff. So that all ties into that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if she's going to be a big part to play. I don't know if she's going to come back and have some altercations with Batman after what happened in the city of Bane and stuff like that. But who knows?
I don't know about you guys, but the big guy in the first issue with his face covered, that reeked of Bane for me. Anyway, I know he's supposed to be dead, but I'm just I think I completely agree with you. It was quite wordy, and unfortunately, his second issue was, if anything, maybe even more wordy. It lost me a little bit at the beginning of this book. It kind of jumped into like a weird retrospect of all the other kind of psychopaths and stuff, and I kind of found that really jarring at the beginning. But when it went back into kind of Gordon's thought process and his kind of back and forth with Batman and stuff, I really started to enjoy it again. I think it's a really intriguing story. Like I think the Court of Owls, there's so much kind of still to be told there, so that I'm really happy to kind of see those guys back in the picture. Like the Bane stuff, and I just think there's a lot more to be excited about in this than there is in the Batman run at the moment. This for me is more compelling than Miracle Molly.
And Batman and Catwoman as well.
Here I am buying £20 covers.
And what deal did you get on them, Ben?
Got a great deal. I got a comic deal, you could say, available at notquitemint.com.
The best place for a comic deal.
It is, but I mean, James, we know you don't really like Batman and stuff like that. But what did you think of this?
I hate to be a cliche on the fact that I don't read a lot of DC and don't enjoy Batman. This was boring. Nothing happened. It was like reading a novel. So James Tynion's a great writer. The prose was great. Maybe he should, get into the novel writing game and maybe leave the comics to comic writers. Mm-hmm. But I just find it to be a slog to read. I think the interesting perspective was obviously it was from Jim Gordon, and the whole. I think what I did like was his whole sort of dilemma about he knows he's going to try to kill Joker, and he's going to tell Barbara, but he's not going to tell Batman and all that stuff, and then the reveal that obviously he knew Barbara was the Oracle, but I just nothing happened in this book apart from heavy exposition between the three, Barbara, Batman, and Gordon.
I mean, the character that Joker's talking to, like on this island, wherever he is, doesn't he make a striking resemblance to Hitler? Did anyone else think that? Was it just me?
No, I think it was the way the shadow was drawn in that first panel. It did give off Mein Führer vibes.
And I was like, I don't know what way this comic's going, but
like literally, there was no action in this comic at all. There was it was people talking the whole way through, and the Joker, enjoying the sun, his pasty skin.
I quite enjoyed that. I thought that he reminded me like I can't get a tan for anything. So I was kind of.
It reminds me of me being on holiday, except the Joker's a lot thinner.
And happier.
And happy as well. But
no, that's a fake. It's a fake.
There is a Batman villain called Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty.
There is a Batman villain called Humpty Dumpty. So if anything, just look it up, guys.
We will. I think.
No, I didn't read issue 1, so I don't know. I don't know the full extent of the story because I never read issue 1. I only read issue 2 for you, Charlie, and I wish I didn't because I just
looked up Humpty Dumpty. Batman.
Yeah, isn't he just like an egg with a suit? A bow tie, doesn't he?
Oh my god!
Oh good lord!
He's like a gangster egg.
A gig.
Right, Batman Humpty.
Oh yeah.
Humpty Dumpty. He's literally.
Ben, you're absolutely scathing tonight.
Right.
Taking no prisoners.
Where are we going now?
It's King in Black. That's where it's got me.
I think it's very fitting that we are now on the home stretch, so I think we should go to Andy.
Nice.
Right now, I've got to say, we say we've just been talking about the Oracle, but the real Oracle, I would say, is Andy, because he called this in March, said this was going to be a heavy-hitting comic, and mate, you weren't wrong. This was a very, very good read.
Yeah. I picked a book that you guys enjoyed.
did, mate, you
At least
did.
one person
did.
enjoyed. I think maybe two people enjoyed it. No, this was, as you say, this was my pick from back in March. And when I read the synopsis on previews, and the fact that Image Comics were releasing it, I thought this is going to be absolutely fantastic. So I guess without getting into spoilers, this is all about these two characters, the main characters. So this is a young boy and his mum who tried to seek refuge in America. And when they land in America, they are taken into basically the ice boxes, as it was called. So this is effectively a comic-based adaptation of what's happened in real life when the Trump administration separated innocent families from their kids. And it is, as hard as that was in 2018 when it was first getting released on the news to hear and to understand, when you read this comic, it sort of takes you back as to what you would believe that this is imaginary, and you just have to keep reminding yourself that this actually did happen, that people actually had to go through this, and it's got that nice twist where there's the kid has superhero qualities about him, which we do see at the end of the book. But I thought it was absolutely stunning. And we say it every week that indie books are where people should go read. I think that everybody should give this a try. It is fantastic.
It definitely. I mean, obviously, Sean, you're into your like your indie comics and stuff. Was this as good as it?
Yeah, I'm actually really. I wouldn't have read this until you mentioned it. I'm really glad I did, and I'll continue reading it. It was one of those ones where I sat back at the end of it, thinking to myself, I was actually angry when I was reading it, because it is very thought provoking, and it does sort of drive those emotions that that did happen, and it's sort of the way that it was written was crafted to the point where it's almost like you could see the racism with the cops and all integral within this as well. Whenever and they didn't care about, and then the separation of the children from the parents. It was just the whole way through. It was very. It wasn't too in your face, if that makes sense. It drove the point home, and the way it should, and drove the emotion that you want. It was supposed to.
Sean, are you going to try?
No. It was no. Trust me, I was sitting reading it earlier on. I'm not going to lie, it was actually quite close to it. When I was sitting reading it earlier on, but it was I just sort of think when I was reading it, it was like, is this done by somebody who's experienced this? And then at the end there is that synopsis from the writer that they had family members that did have that, and I was like, oh right, okay, so and it has came from that. But I'm actually really, really glad that it's recommended to read this, so I will continue to read it. Definitely.
I disagree. I think it was very in your face. It was putting its political agenda in your face straight up. With their little, oh, have you not seen the news? Oh, the change in administration and all that stuff. I think it was very in your face, and they knew what they were. Good call there, aren't they? But they know exactly what they were doing with it. And I'm not politically minded in any shape or form. But I guarantee that mothers and daughters were being, and kids and parents were being separated, long before a Trump administration and probably long after a Trump administration. So I think to throw it in that this is basically being anti-Trump based on this one thing is just, don't know. I mean, I know that, if it happened to people's families at the time and they want to sort of put that in their comic, that's fine. I can understand that. But to me, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it.
I would agree to an extent, only it's been released after Trump's no longer president.
What was it that we're trying to do as far as you were concerned, James? What you suggested they were trying to do something? What was it they were trying to do?
Well, they were spinning it as an anti-Trump comic.
Where did they do that? Because the only time they mentioned Trump is at the end when they spoke about the Trump administration.
When they dropped about 3 times saying about the change in administration, they've changed, everything's changed, and they're now separating parents from their kids. I think they mentioned about 3 times in the comic.
I definitely don't think. I don't think it was. I wouldn't say it was in your face, to be honest with you. I guess with this, it's like there's a story to be told, and the best form to tell it in is in a comic where not only will adults read it, but kids will read it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, comics will always be political as well to a certain point of view. And the writers and they have, if they they're going to have these experiences and they want to put them through as comics, that they have every right to do so as well. I don't like reading political sort of comics on any side of things, and it's just I like comics to sort of escape from things like that. And there was an interesting twist on being sort of superpowers and stuff at the end of that, and. I know to a certain degree when we were reading the likes of Crossover, they were sort of hinting at something similar to this, but in a more sort of fictionalized world. But
I will say something though. The writer does make mention at the end saying that this first issue is quite sort of hard hitting to an extent. It is supposed to get a little bit lighter as it goes further on, and a little bit more leaning towards the sort of superhero vibe, etc. But this issue was supposed to do what it's supposed to do, and then they're making it more lighthearted as it goes along. So it's just sort of setting it up for me.
They do mention this is a book about hope. This is a book about hope, I guess. I think that's what we'll get in the next few issues. So
it's not necessarily that I disagree with their political point of view. It's fine. I don't care about politics, and to be honest, I'm probably the most emotionless person you'll ever find. So I don't really care about kids being taken away from parents.
Never have known that, James, in any way.
I am an emotional person, and I am political, and I am anti-Trump. So I kind of obviously came in already with that kind of agenda sort of thing. So I don't think I found it too in your face, because it was kind of what I knew anyway, sort of thing, what was happening. I guess the interesting thing as a comic book reader is you sometimes read the comics like, and say, for example, it's like a Magneto scene and it's from World War II or whatever, and it almost feels like fantasy, doesn't it? World War II and the atrocities that happened there, because it was so, it feels like a long time ago. So I think to kind of be reading atrocities that happened like literally like 2 years ago or whatever this is set, like it did kind of provoke a really emotional reaction, and I think that was their aim. I don't think they've shoved it in your face, but I do think it, the aim is to tell the story, and I think that story is sad, and it does provoke sadness and anger and all of that stuff. I'm the same. I do go to comic books for escapism, so like naturally this wasn't something I would have read, but because of this show and because of like knowing Andy, I've like read more indies than I've ever read. But I'm so grateful, because it was just, like the superhero kind of twist at the end. Like I could kind of see this if they were to do an X-Men film now, like this would be an amazing kind of like origin episode for one of the characters. Do you know what I mean? And there'd be nothing kind of strange about that. I think that because ultimately, that is one of the negative settings that some people have had to kind of go through at the moment.
Wasn't it? It was like
you says Magneto. That was when I was reading this, I was thinking Magneto from the X-Men movie, and when he's a child being torn away,
and Wolverine being taken away at the beginning, wasn't
it?
Yeah. So it kind of did remind me of that, but like, I think just because it's so fresh still, like it does. And I mean, I've recently, my daughter's 9 months now, and I've kind of like gone through like a weird genesis, and I react to anything that involves kids completely differently now. Like I watched a documentary the other day, and a baby got found in some rubble and stuff. It was all awful, and I cried, like, and I would never have cried at that, like, and this book really did provoke a very kind of emotional reaction. But yeah, I completely get what James is saying. I think it is a book that definitely kind of will sit better with people who may sway left, politically. But at the same time, the facts are the facts, and that's kind of what happened. And yeah, it might have been happening before, but I think ultimately it wasn't happening in quite such a kind of robust and awful way. So I think it's a story that does need to be told, and yeah, why sit on that story? Like, now's the time. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was, I actually thought it was astonishing, Andy. So thank you.
Astonishing.
Cool.
I really enjoyed it, and I kind of overlooked, like, I'm like James, I've got like I don't care for politics and stuff like that, and unless it's involving me like directly, then I kind of overlook it. And that comic, I think all of us here, we kind of read comics, we collect Funko Pops, we do that to get away from what's going on around us and stuff. But this comic, as the Comic Room said, who's a new viewer, so thank you for coming in. This book totally passed me by, but sounds like it's a must read. I would suggest reading it. I think it's going to be great, and I think, as Sean said, it kind of gets, I think they've gone in full force to start off with. It's kind of heavy hitting, it hits the emotions, tugs at the heartstrings and stuff like that. But I definitely think if it's definitely going to get lighter, I mean, the way it ended, it kind of seems like it's got that value in it, and it's going to have a good run and stuff, and it does tie back to like the superhero stuff that we all love. But I did want to end on
sorry, Charlie, the thing is, if it gets lighter, we now know what that kid has gone through. So as a character, like already that character has so much depth because of a really strong first issue. So if it does get lighter, that's fine, because we've had that time to kind of explore, you know, what he had to go through. So
it's a great setup.
It's a good marketing ploy for issue 1 for sure.
I mean, Darren,
they've nailed that one.
Like with us, so obviously we, like myself and Andy and Sean, we're very like into the indie, and James as well. But I mean, Ben loves his Marvel and stuff. Like obviously you've mentioned like years ago you was into like your Marvel, X-Men and stuff. Is it, obviously we review like the indie comics and stuff, and we've spoken time and time again how indie are kind of pushing the boundaries. They're kind of putting out these characters like for 1 or 2 issues, and then they can kind of deal with it. With Marvel and DC, it's kind of, we've known these heroes for long, we've grown up in them and stuff. Is there anything that you think would sway you going towards indie? Is there any comics you've seen out there, if any of the ones that you mentioned, like Home for instance, and some of the ones we've previously mentioned, do you think you'd get into indie comics?
I think, you know, from the sound of the particular one that you're talking about now, you know, similar to James and similar to yourself, Charlie, I'm not politically minded at all. It sounds like the foundations have been laid there for a really good basis of a story that Ben's just mentioned. I mean, the grounding you've got for the depth of character there is a good starting point. And I mean, that'd be something that'd interest me. I mean, I'm not a huge book reader by any means, so this was always a thing for me to get into reading in some way, shape or form. I think story, I mean, that sounds pretty strong to me, but the political aspect I could take or leave it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think this is probably the first indie comic that's really kind of had that political aspect. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but I think some of them kind of like, especially like Fear Cases, astonishing. I'm going to use Ben's word there. That is astonishing. That's been a sensational read. We've had
Stillwater.
Yeah, Stillwater's been consistent. If there's one comic, Darren, I'd say take away from this, it would be Stillwater. Stillwater is sensational. It's by Chip Zdarsky. It's by Chip Zdarsky, who's taken over the crossover run from Donny Cates, which I'm sure the comic deal may be doing a crossover on his channel if he ever gets
this stream has like turned into like some weird kind of like Mormon church where we like convert people into like in indies.
Come on here now, you must
join the cult.
but I think like honestly, like we enjoy a comment. I wanted to end on a good note, but we've kind of ended on like this Mormon plea of you must read indie comics.
See, that's what happens when you bring politics into comics.
Hello, my name is Charlie, and I would like to share with you indie comics.
Well, on that note, Ben, you've just done a great segue. I'm going to do what I missed out on last week, so I'm going to go around all of you. I've dropped all your links for your channels in the chat. Thanks for joining and making Killer Comics what it is. We do this every week, and it's great to have you all on. So I'm going to go around. I'm going to give you the big screen. This is what we do, Dan. I'm going to give you the big screen. You can promote your channel. You can tell us what you've got coming up, and we'll take it from there. So, Darren, you're up first.
As Charlie will testify to, I'm probably one of the least productive creators out there, but we a lot of chat on collecting Funko Pops, on-ball toys, you know, and obviously there are some comics tripping into the collection now as well. My weekly chats live on Instagram. Most of my work is done there, but we have got a YouTube channel as well over at the Poptimist UK. So if it's Funko Pops that are of remote interest to you, the amount of content that I do, but anything really, anything collecting, we try and keep across it if we can.
It is the Saturday Coffee Club, isn't it? At 10:30.
It is 10:30 every other Saturday. Again, we just dissect the week of what's happened in terms of releases. It goes down reasonably well, to be honest. Yeah, we get a good crowd of people involved.
It does indeed. Thank you so much for coming on, Darren. Sean, You was Darren. You was talking about being the least content creator on the show. We've got
You just took away exactly what I was just going to say. I am the least productive because I don't produce anything at all. I'm just more than happy to sort of go along for the ride with a lot of people's shows, and that's essentially what I do. But no, it's just follow. You can just follow me at New Comics on Instagram. Hopefully, we'll get the crosing over thing with James going for issue 5 and 6, and then obviously we'll probably do Panels and Pints starting May, hopefully, with any bit of luck. Nobody else.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so Sean just haws himself out when we need him. He's there, willing and able.
Always.
Ben?
Oh, I've got the usual videos on Sunday at 5 o'clock GMT PM. Yeah, that's about it. Usual stuff on Instagram. Obviously, any comics that come through the letterbox, I will show you, and like weird photoshops. I'm quite proud of my Photoshop I posted today, actually. I did a beatbox from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So if you want to see my furry belly, then head over to my Instagram.
Not again.
Was that Photoshopped, Ben, or was that you? Is that your lockdown belly?
That's the game. You've got to see what is photoshopped and what's natural.
It's not smell-o-vision, is it? It's not, is it?
Oh, let's hope not. That belly button. My daughter went for it the other day, and honestly, she'll regret that decision for the rest of her life.
I'm just going to go over to Mr. Impromptu Perpetual himself, Burglar Bill.
Yeah, Burglar Bill. Yeah, I don't have anything planned as anybody that has seen my channel. I just jump on and go live whenever I have time. You can find me on perpetual.comics on Instagram, so come over there. And thanks to Charlie for having me on again. Really appreciate it.
It's all right. It's not a problem. And then we have the new daddy of the group, Sugar Daddy O, James.
What have I got coming up? So probably about 2 a.m. I'll get up to make a bottle for the baby, and then probably about 5:30 I'll get up and make a bottle for the baby, and then about 7 I'll get up to get the other kid out to get ready for crash, and then I'll repeat that every day except weekends because I'll stay at home. There
we go. Look at that. Look, what an absolute stellar card we've had this week.
On Twitch TV. Come check it out.
Sounds like parenting tutorials on his Twitch.
Sean covered what is probably going to be coming up on my channel at some point. So there's the Panels and Pints at the start of May, maybe, and then we're going to try to do a crossing over and do issue 5 and issue 6 together.
But you've also got your card collecting, like your Pokemon card collecting and stuff like that. So I know you jump on with that.
Yeah, I do. I've actually got an Instagram for my Pokemon cards, which is separate to my comic one. It's called Belfast Pokemon. So, if anyone ever wants to check that out, you can. There's,
If Andy can find that and drop that in the chat, that'd be great.
Belfast Pokemon.
But yeah, as for me, it's a standard Monday thing, 12 p.m. GMT. We have the top comic releases for what's coming up that week. And then on Thursday, sometimes we have you guys, sometimes we have special guests, and sometimes it's unplanned, unprepared, and we even have guests like previous ones that jump on 20 minutes into a stream and realise that they're live when they should have been. And that was a great show. If you haven't checked it out, it was John Jiang on last week. We spoke about comics, art, growing up, and then Ben went fully in depth with how he and John share the love of French knickers. So if you haven't checked that out, I would suggest heading over to that. It was actually a great one. But guys, it's been fantastic again. Thanks to everyone coming on. Darren, thanks for, I think I might have dragged you out your comfort zone a bit to talk about comics and stuff, but this is what we're
maybe
here
a little
for.
bit, yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but yeah, no, thanks for coming on, guys. It's been great, and thanks to everyone in the chat that's been active and everyone. So thank you very much, and
thanks for having us, Charlie.
Yeah, cheers, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Have a good weekend. See you later.
Bye.